I'm Paul Simmons. I'm an ordained Baptist minister. I've served as pastor in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky, but most prominently served for 23 years as professor of Christian ethics at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, and now teach medical ethics at the University of Louisville, especially in the Department of Family and Geriatric Medicine. The problem of capital punishment has been an issue that has dogged me all my life, both as pastor and professor and as reflective Christian in this society. There are a number of reasons that stand out in my own mind for objections to capital punishment. One is the fact that in the history of the Hebrew people, there is a progression that can be discerned through the biblical story and contemporary practice. And that progression reflects more profound moral thinking as well as a more civilized social approach to the issue. The first level of that approved of vengeance killings. They would allow the next of kin to pursue a perpetrator of a crime against a member of the family unless they found refuge in a city or they ran out of time. But then it moved toward the centralization of that authority, and we find that in the Ten Commandments when the prohibition of murder or homicide is found. And that represents the centralization of that authority. No longer could they practice next of kin vengeance. Then in the teachings of Jesus, there is a broadening of this whole concept of any kind of official killing. When on the practice of the woman who was caught in adultery, she could have by law been put to death. And the two ways they put people to death is by stoning or burning, of course. Stones were plentiful, and people often resorted to capital punishment on the spot. And that's what they intended to do with her, and with Jesus had he given the wrong answer. But he turned it back on them and asked the question, which of you is without sin? So instead of answering the question directly, he broadened the concept of moral culpability. We all are people who have difficulty controlling the impulse to violence. And to institutionalize that is to institutionalize the brutishness of our baser natures. So we ought to follow that example because the modern Israelis do not practice capital punishment. And the Hebrew congregation has declared that capital punishment is simply not acceptable on religious or moral grounds. That's a very good example, it seems to me, historically and religiously for us to take note of.